picture this. It is December 2nd, 2010. You're in Melbourne, Australia, standing inside this very sterile, quiet hallway of a luxury high-rise apartment building.
Right, but you aren't looking out those expansive glass windows at the beautiful city skyline.
No. You are staring at a tiny steel hatch set into the wall on the 12th floor. It's a trash chute.
And behind that heavy metallic flap is just sheer claustrophobic darkness. Literally an 11-story vertical drop.
Exactly. So now transport yourself down to the ground floor into the cold concrete basement of that very same building.
The building's concierge is down there, right? Standing outside the trash compactor room.
Yeah, she's just looking for a broom to sweep up, so she
Yeah.
turns the handle, pushes, but the door is totally jammed.
Like there is something incredibly heavy blocking it from the inside.
Right. She throws her shoulder into it, pushing a little harder, shifting the heavy door just enough to peer into that dim fluorescent light.
And what she sees is just a gruesome, really devastating scene.
A 24-year-old woman named Phoebe Handsjuk is lying on the floor, surrounded by blood. She had seemingly fallen those 11 stories down the chute.
It is an incredibly dark, almost incomprehensible scene to walk into.
It really is.
And that brings us directly into the mission for today's deep dive. We are going to unravel one of the most perplexing, physically baffling mysteries in recent memory.
Because the physics here, they just don't make sense.
They don't. We are going to guide you through the bizarre circumstances leading up to this moment, the physical evidence that simply defies the laws of physics, and a jaw-dropping historical echo that happened years later.
It's a lot to unpack.
It is.
Yeah.
Ultimately, we have to explore how a case with so many glaring, unanswered questions could be officially closed by authorities as a tragic accident, and what that tells us about the mechanisms of criminal investigations.
Yeah, I am still, trying to wrap my head around the sheer mechanics of a fall like that.
I mean, anyone would be.
But to understand how we end up in that basement, we actually have to rewind the clock by just one day, to December 1st, 2010.
Right, the day before she was found.
Exactly. So Phoebe sends this group text message to her family, her boyfriend, and her boss.
And you really need to hear the exact wording of this message because it is incredibly jarring.
It really is. It reads, quote, "Hi, family. I am in bed about to sleep, and when I wake, I will transform into the most incredible human being you've ever seen."
Which is already such a bizarre way to start a text.
Right. And it continues. I hear the special tonight is tomato soup. Delicious, nutritious. I love you all very much, but not enough to send an individual text. Sorry about that.
So strange.
But time is sleep, and I must be on my way. Merrily, 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 life is but a dream XO.
Wow. To really grasp the weight of that message, we need to look at Phoebe's reality at the time.
Yeah, let's give some context.
She was a vibrant young woman, but she heavily struggled with depression and anxiety. She sometimes turned to prescription drugs and alcohol as a coping mechanism.
So her family was already hyper-aware of her mental state.
Exactly. So when her family receives a message that is this highly poetic, erratic, and deeply uncharacteristic, they don't just brush it off as some quirky late-night text.
Right, it's not just a joke to them.
No, it is an immediate, glaring red flag indicating that her mental state might be deteriorating rapidly.
And her grandmother is absolutely terrified by it. She immediately calls Phoebe's live-in boyfriend, who goes by the name Aunt.
Right, they share this fancy high-rise apartment on the 12th floor.
So the grandmother figures, he's right there. He can just walk into the bedroom and check on her.
That makes total sense.
But Aunt answers the phone, says he actually isn't with Phoebe at the moment, but that when he left that morning, she seemed fine.
He tells the grandmother that Phoebe is probably just sleeping, and he completely dismisses the concern.
Like totally brushes it off. To calm the grandmother down, he says he'll go check on her later.
But it is totally unclear if he ever actually went to the apartment to check or if he ever bothered to call the grandmother back.
Yeah, his sheer nonchalance seems to have temporarily paused the family's rising panic, though.
Right, up until the very next day, December 2nd.
So Phoebe's father, Len, has standing dinner plans with Phoebe and Aunt.
He calls Phoebe's phone to say he's running a bit late, right?
Yeah, but there's no answer. Then exactly 30 seconds later, Len's phone rings.
And it's not Phoebe.
No, it's Aunt. And this is highly unusual because Aunt has never, in the entire history of their relationship, called Len directly before.
Never, not once.
Aunt tells Len that Phoebe isn't home, but her purse and her keys are still sitting in the apartment.
Wait, I need to pause on that 30-second gap. Len calls Phoebe, she doesn't answer, and exactly half a minute later, the boyfriend calls.
Yeah, it is a very specific, very tight window.
And Len is sitting there thinking, we have dinner plans, her purse is there, her keys are there, and she sent that incredibly disturbing Life is but a dream text yesterday.
Exactly. So Len begs Aunt to call the police and report her missing immediately.
Which is the logical next step.
But Aunt flat out refuses. He says he doesn't think the police would take it seriously.
I have to be honest, I struggle to understand the logic here.
It makes no sense. It's like seeing thick black smoke pouring out from under a bedroom door, smelling burning plastic, and saying,
Let's just wait and see if there's an actual fire before we bother calling the fire department.
exactly. Why wait? What is the mechanism behind that kind of apathy?
Well, that inaction forces Len to take matters into his own hands.
Because somebody had to do something.
Right. Len starts desperately calling everyone who knows Phoebe, hitting dead end after dead end throughout the afternoon.
Just a father panicking trying to find his daughter.
And it isn't until later that night that Aunt finally calls Len back with the devastating news. Phoebe had been found in the building, but she was dead.
Which takes us right back to that basement at 7 p.m., the concierge trying to pry open the jammed door of the compactor room.
The brutal reality of what happened in that room is staggering, both medically and physically.
It's awful.
When Phoebe fell down that 11-story chute, she struck the compactor mechanism at the bottom, which nearly severed her foot.
Oh, man.
But the fall itself didn't kill her instantly. She actually survived that devastating 100-foot drop.
Which is a miracle in itself, but a tragic one.
Yeah. Forensic investigators determined she likely bled to death on that dark, cold basement floor while trying to drag herself toward the door.
Oh, that is genuinely horrifying to visualize.
Based on the blood loss, it probably took between 5 and 10 agonizing minutes for her to pass away in the dark.
Wow. So when the police show up, they look at the scene, they look at her history, and they formulate an immediate theory.
Right. They rule it a suicide or a tragic accident.
They point to the toxicology report, which shows her blood alcohol level was 0.16. That's double the legal driving limit.
And that she had taken Stilnox.
Right. For context, Stilnox is a very strong, heavy sedative prescribed to treat intense insomnia.
Yeah, it's important to dig into that. So the police paint this picture of a young, intoxicated woman who was heavily medicated, wandering the halls, and simply had a tragic mishap.
But it is crucial to understand how Stilnox works pharmacologically to see why the police clung to this theory.
Exactly. Stilnox is the brand name in Australia for zolpidem, which is the active ingredient in medications like Ambien.
Right, the stuff that knocks you out.
Yeah, zolpidem binds to GABA receptors in the brain, which depresses the central nervous system.
It induces sleep, obviously.
But it is notorious for causing complex sleep behaviors like sleepwalking, sleep eating, and profound anterograde amnesia.
Meaning you have absolutely no memory of what you did.
Right. Furthermore, it severely impairs motor function and coordination.
Okay, I want to play devil's advocate for the police here for a second.
Sure, okay.
If we know that Stilnox can cause people to literally cook full meals in their sleep without waking up, and she has a 0.16 blood alcohol level amplifying those effects.
Which is a massive dose of impairment.
Right. Isn't it entirely possible she hallucinated? What if she wandered out into the hallway, completely disoriented, and thought that metal hatch was a door or a window?
Just stumbled right in.
Yeah, couldn't she have just fallen in?
That is a very plausible-sounding theory on paper, which is exactly why the police adopted it so quickly.
It wraps things up nicely.
But that theory completely shatters the second you examine the biomechanics required to actually enter that specific chute.
Okay, explain that.
Phoebe's family, specifically her grandfather, who happens to be a retired, highly experienced detective.
Talk about having the right person in your corner.
I know, right? He looked at the police report and immediately realized the physical math did not work.
Let's talk about the chute itself, because when you hear trash chute, you probably picture this big, gaping, waist-high hole in the wall.
Like a commercial hotel laundry chute you could easily toss a giant duffel bag into.
Exactly, but that is not what this is. This is a small steel hatch. The dimensions are incredibly specific.
How small are we talking?
It is 11.8 inches tall by 21.5 inches wide.
That is tiny.
And it sits more than 3 feet off the ground. Furthermore, it doesn't open outward like an oven door.
How does it open?
It pushes inward and only fans open at the top, like a tight restrictive wedge.
Wow. The architectural design is specifically meant to prevent large objects, and certainly human beings, from going down.
Right. To get into this chute, Phoebe would have had to pull the heavy spring-loaded hatch open, hold it open with one hand, hoist her entire body weight up over 36 inches into the air.
While keeping the hatch open.
Yes, and then thread herself feet first into a tiny 11-inch wedge-shaped opening.
Let's combine that physical reality with the pharmacological reality we just discussed.
It's just wild. She has a .16 BAC and is full of heavy sedatives that destroy motor coordination.
Trying to voluntarily get into the chute would be like, I don't know, an adult trying to purposefully shove themselves feet first through a standard mouse slot.
3 feet off the ground, while heavily intoxicated and barely able to stand up straight.
It utterly defies physical logic.
Phoebe's grandfather actually built a full-scale physical replica of the chute and had a friend of Phoebe's exact height and weight try to get into it.
Oh, wow. What happened?
It was virtually impossible, even for a sober, coordinated person, to do it without immense struggle.
And if someone were to attempt this nearly impossible physical feat, they would leave a trace.
Of course.
There would be immense friction. They would leave signs of a struggle.
But the physical clues left behind, or rather the glaring lack of them, tell a story that completely contradicts the official police narrative.
Let's break that down. If you are hoisting yourself up by a steel flap, your hands and arms are going to show it.
But Phoebe had absolutely no cuts, no scrapes, and no bruises on her fingers or forearms. None.
That makes zero sense. And then there is the state of her clothing.
This part is crazy. When she was found in the basement, her jeans were pulled down around her knees.
Wait, what?
Yeah. I want you to try to visualize climbing up over a 3-foot ledge and threading your body into an 11-inch opening, with your jeans binding your legs together at the knees.
It restricts your movement entirely. It removes your ability to bend your knees or gain leverage, making climbing basically an impossibility.
Furthermore, forensic technicians processed the chute hatch.
What did they find?
0 fingerprints.
None.
None of Phoebe's fingerprints. No one else's fingerprints. It had been wiped completely clean.
If her physical and chemical state makes it biomechanically impossible for her to have willingly climbed into that hatch alone, the physical evidence forces us to look backward.
Right. We have to look at the environment she just left.
Exactly.
Yeah.
What was waiting upstairs in that 12th floor apartment?
That brings us back to 6:09 p.m. on December 2nd, just about an hour before Phoebe's body was discovered in the basement.
And returns to the 12th floor apartment.
And the scene he walks into is eerie, chaotic, and deeply unsettling.
Tell us what he sees.
There is broken glass scattered across the floor. There is fresh blood on a computer mouse and blood smeared on a door frame.
Okay, that's already terrible.
A hair straightener has been left turned on, posing a huge fire hazard. And on the bed, there is what the media later described as a shrine.
A shrine.
A bizarre collection of photographs surrounded by incoherent, rambling messages scribbled on Post-it notes.
So it is a bloody, chaotic scene. Her purse and keys are sitting right there, just as he told Len on the phone earlier.
But Ant's reaction is chillingly casual. Instead of seeing blood, broken glass, and a bizarre shrine, and immediately calling the police, what does he do?
I can't even guess.
He orders takeout. He literally orders food from the exact same Thai restaurant they were supposed to be meeting her father at.
You're kidding.
He later claims to investigators that he had absolutely no idea she was dead until the Thai food delivery driver arrived at the building and mentioned that the police were downstairs blocking off the basement.
This is where we have to critically examine the response of law enforcement, because the initial investigation was, to put it mildly, catastrophically botched.
Botched doesn't even begin to cover it.
We see a compounding series of forensic failures. When Phoebe was found in the basement, nobody checked her body for a time of death.
Wait, they didn't?
No, they didn't take a liver temperature to establish algor mortis. We have no scientific timeline for whether she had been lying there for 5 minutes or for 5 hours before the concierge found her.
I am genuinely baffled by that.
Yeah.
You find a body in a basement, and the foundational step of establishing a timeline is just skipped.
Unfortunately, the failures cascade from there. The trash bags that were in the basement compactor room near her body.
Bags that might have contained the rest of the broken glass from the apartment.
Or blood-soaked towels or rags used to wipe the fingerprints off the chute.
What happened to them?
They were never collected by authorities. They were just thrown away.
Are you serious?
The CCTV footage from the building wasn't formally requested in time, so massive, crucial portions of it were automatically overwritten by the building's security system.
Jeez.
And the blood found in the apartment wasn't fully DNA tested to conclusively determine whose it was or how it was deposited there.
And we haven't even touched her digital footprint. Her phone and her computer were left in the apartment with Aunt for months.
Months.
Yes. By the time law enforcement finally got around to seizing and examining them, all of Phoebe's emails had been permanently deleted.
Wow.
I'm going to explain the mechanics of why that is so devastating. It's not just like throwing away a piece of paper.
No, it's digital overwriting.
Exactly.
Right.
If you delete an email, it marks that space on the hard drive as available. But if you keep using that computer for months, you are constantly writing new data over those available sectors.
It's like building a brand new house over a crime scene.
Perfectly said. The digital forensics team couldn't recover them, the crucial window into her state of mind, who she was communicating with, any clues at all, just permanently wiped out.
Through all of these catastrophic investigative failures, there was only one piece of concrete evidence salvaged.
Just one tiny clip of CCTV footage that shows the last time Phoebe was definitively seen alive.
And it involves such a bizarre coincidence. At 11:43 a.m. on the day she died, a false fire alarm goes off in the building.
Right, it forces all the residents to evacuate down to the street.
Phoebe is captured on tape walking out, and then at 11:50 a.m. she is seen on camera walking back into the building.
And she looks completely fine.
She is walking normally, seemingly unharmed.
That means whatever happened, the broken glass, the blood, the shrine, the impossible fall down the chute, happened between 11:50 a.m. and 7:00 p.m.
A massive 7-hour window where we have zero evidence.
Because of the state of the initial investigation, the family was left with a massive void of answers. So they fought the system.
They really had to. They fought for years to get an official coronial inquest into her death.
It is helpful to understand how the Australian coronial system works here, right?
Yeah, during an inquest, an appointed counsel serves as an independent set of legal eyes to review all the evidence, or lack thereof, and make a formal recommendation to the coroner.
But the coroner in this system isn't just a medical examiner.
No, they are a magistrate. They hold immense legal power.
Okay, so after reviewing the missing fingerprints, the impossible biomechanics of the chute, the genes restricting her legs, the bloody apartment, the appointed counsel makes their recommendation.
What did they say?
They advise the coroner to officially rule the death undetermined because there are just too many physical anomalies to definitively call it an accident or a suicide.
But then, in a highly unusual move for the legal system, the coroner shockingly overrules the counsel's recommendation.
Wait, really?
Yes. Using their magisterial power, the coroner maintains the official stance that Phoebe's death was a tragic accident.
It's devastating for the family. You fight for years, you get the independent counsel to agree that the physics don't support an accident, and the door is just slammed in your face by the person at the top.
It's crushing.
But I need you to brace yourselves for this next part because we are going to fast forward 7.5 years to 2018.
Right. This is the historical echo that completely shifts the lens through which we view everything we've just discussed.
In 2018, another young woman is found dead. Her name is Bailey Schneider. She's 25 years old.
She's found slumped over on the kitchen floor of her home with a cord wrapped tightly around her neck.
But here is the impossible physics of this new scene. She's on a flat kitchen floor where there is absolutely nothing to hang from.
Nothing at all.
There is no suspension point.
It is a physically baffling circumstance. I mean, asphyxiation by hanging requires gravity and the suspension point.
Right. Finding someone deceased in this manner with nothing to hang from presents the exact same kind of mechanical impossibility as a tiny, waist-high trash chute.
Wait, if there's no suspension point, how did the authorities explain the mechanics of her death?
That's the thing. The statistical improbability of two cases having such glaring physical impossibilities is staggering.
And there's more to it, isn't there?
Yes. The morning Bailey was found, her parents, who she lived with, heard her engaging in a heated argument with her boyfriend before they left the house.
Who is Bailey dating?
She was dating Aunt.
2 young women, both in their mid-20s, both dating the exact same man.
And both end up dead under circumstances that fiercely defy physical logic and biomechanics.
But just like Phoebe's case, Bailey's death is almost immediately ruled a suicide by authorities.
Her parents fight back. They push for a re-examination, pointing out the lack of a suspension point. In 2020, an experienced homicide detective reviews the case.
And what happens?
The ruling inexplicably stands: suicide.
If we look at this objectively, we have to ask why authorities might be so quick to close the book on cases surrounded by such glaring anomalies.
It's a fair question.
It is necessary to provide some background context regarding Ant's family, as it sheds light on the environment he navigates.
Let's get into that.
Ant's father was a retired Supreme Court judge, and at the time of Phoebe's death, his stepmother was a sitting county judge.
So he comes from a family deeply entrenched in the highest echelons of the regional legal system.
Now, we have to be explicitly clear here. We are impartially reporting the facts of these investigations.
Very true. Ant has steadfastly denied any wrongdoing in both of these cases.
He has been found legally not responsible in both Phoebe's death and Bailey's death.
We bring this up not to make an accusation, but to highlight the extraordinary anomalies in these investigations and the ongoing lack of closure for these families.
You really have to wonder how two entirely separate investigations could leave so much vital evidence uncollected and so many mechanical questions unasked.
Our role is to synthesize the information and look at the underlying mechanisms, not to pass a legal verdict.
Right. But the sheer volume of coincidences, from white hard drives and erased security footage to physically impossible crime scenes, forces a critical mind to examine the psychology of law enforcement.
What do you mean by that?
In psychology, there is a concept called anchoring bias. It is a cognitive bias where an individual relies too heavily on an initial piece of information, the anchor, when making decisions.
Okay, I see where you're going. In Phoebe's case, the 0.16 blood alcohol level and the still knocks acted as the anchor.
Exactly. Once the police anchored to the idea of an intoxicated accident, confirmation bias took over.
They only looked for evidence that supported the accident theory.
Subconsciously ignoring the missing fingerprints, the restricted genes, and the physical dimensions of the hatch, because those facts conflicted with the anchor.
Wow. That pause is heavy right now. Because we just recently passed the 15th anniversary of Phoebe's death.
15 years.
And officially, on paper, she is still considered the victim of a tragic accident.
Oh.
We've taken you on a wild, deeply unsettling journey today.
From a bizarre, poetic text message about transforming into an incredible human being to a physically impossible fall down an 11-inch steel hatch.
We've walked through a 12-floor apartment littered with blood and broken glass, and we've examined a devastating echo 7 years later with Bailey Schneider.
As we close this deep dive, I want to leave you with a final thought to ponder, something that extends far beyond the physical impossibility of a trash chute.
What's that?
We live in an era where we believe our digital lives are permanent, that our data always leaves a trail.
Right, the cloud, backups, all of it.
But consider the terrifying reality of Phoebe's deleted emails. We place so much faith in modern forensics and the justice system to uncover the truth.
But this case proves that all it takes to erase a person's final thoughts, their fears, and their crucial communications is a few months of delay and a casually overwritten hard drive.
Exactly. If the digital footprints of a life can be so easily wiped away while the justice system looks the other way, you have to ask yourself, how much of our truth is really safe?